Now we met many, many more African leaders who came to a conference on Israel's technology in the United Nations. They showed there everything: water, hydroponics, energy, health. You want to hear this? Painless circumcision against the spread of AIDS. Talk about cutting-edge technology. I mean, I was amazed. I didn't know this. And Latin America, Argentina, Mr. Macri called me up right after he was elected. He said, I want to meet you. We met in Davos in Switzerland. He said, I'm changing the policy. Same thing is happening with the other. I predict it's going to happen with Brazil now, but it's happening throughout Latin America. Why are these countries coming to us? TNT, terror and technology. Israel is a global power in fighting terrorism because of our intelligence and other proven capabilities. Israel is a global power in technology. All countries need technology for the reasons I mentioned before. A few I didn't, but the future truly belongs to those who innovate. And so because of this confluence of security and technology, countries are coming to Israel, including Russia and including the other countries that, many other countries. And that's changing fundamentally our position in the world. I said today at the UN that I predict that in 10 years, I think it'll happen before, the automatic majorities in the UN are going to disappear. The automatic majority rests on the 54 countries of the African bloc, and the African countries are coming to us every day, including today. So I think that's going to change. And it's going to present a problem to a future Israeli prime minister. How will he give a speech applauding the UN? But he or she will get over it, as I did today. So I think that this explains all the countries, but it doesn't explain the United States. The United States is something else. It is the relationship that I and the people of Israel most treasure. It transcends politics. It's expressed in the MOU, record MOU that we just signed. And I'm deeply appreciative of the action that was taken by President Obama in this. I know that it's supported across the board, bipartisan support. This is very powerful and irreplaceable, and it will continue.
So I think Sarah Stern is about to come up here. So I have many more questions, but I have one personal one. Not appropriate to usually do personal ones, but this I think it is. So for over 3,000 years, Jews have prayed to God for the reestablishment of Zion and Jerusalem. Yet Israel was established largely by men and women who were uncertain about God. What role do you think God played in the miracle in the creation of the Jewish state?
Well, evidently a very good one. Because we've beaten the odds. Now, if you want me to question God, you know, based on experience, I could be stricken down, and I'm not going to take that risk. I think that there are reservoirs of faith and culture that are very powerful in our people. You know, the founding fathers of Zionism may have been, they may not have been religious people, but they were cognizant of religion. They even knew what they were challenging. One thing they weren't ignorant. That's the important thing. You know, you want to reject something, know what you're rejecting. The thing that I worry about is that we'd have a world where people don't even know what they're embracing and what they're rejecting. They should know our traditions. They're powerful. They brought us here. And I think that the unique power of the Jewish people and the unique power of the Jewish state is a combination of the fact that we had this really primary internet system. You know, when we had the diaspora, we had, you know, this these scholars and sages in Yemen writing letters to the sages in Spain, writing letters to the sages in Germany and so on, asking questions about law, truth, justice. And truth was never finite. It always expanded. You always built on what you knew into what you didn't know. And I think when the walls of the ghettos and the Enlightenment came, that same discipline was transferred to physics, mathematics, chemistry. It's a very powerful tradition, this constant questioning that the Jewish tradition encourages. But I think that if that were it, we wouldn't be here, and Israel wouldn't be here. I think it also is grounded in deep faith. Sort of your feet are planted in the soil, and we came back to our ancient land. And at the same time, you know, the branches go up and up and up. And I think it's this unique combination of faith and reason that has made the Jewish people so remarkable and the Jewish state so successful. And God is watching over us as we speak. And it's important to make sure that you see danger, not in order to celebrate it, but in order to thwart it. I think Israel has been able to do that remarkably well. And I think today, if you look around at the Middle East, you know, it used to be asked at the beginning of the Arab Spring, will Israel survive? Nobody's asking that anymore. Many countries are asking, can we survive without Israel? That's an enormous change, because Israel's power is rising very rapidly, and the way that you ensure that you can deal with potential dangers is by accumulating more power. There's a simple principle that I think is evident today. I think it was always evident, but in the Middle East and beyond, the weak don't survive. The strong survive. The strong and the smart survive. I'm sure many of you have read this, the remarkable books of Will Durant, Story of Civilization. Well, believe it or not, I read them. But I didn't read his summation called The Lessons of History, which I think he wrote in around 1970. And it's a 100-page book. Every sentence is pregnant with wisdom. And you want the good news or the bad news? Well, I'll give you the bad news first. Every time somebody asks me that, I say, give me the bad news first. Well, the bad news, if I have to sum up what Durant says, and I'm oversimplifying it, but I will, he says, numbers count. You know, in the flow of history, the big nations have an edge. They produce larger GDPs. Larger GDPs produce larger militaries. That creates political power. And so small nations are at a disadvantage. Well, that's obvious enough. Then I think on page 17 he says, well, he sort of indicates there may be an exception with the young state of Israel, which can bring cultural forces to overcome the odds. Well, that was 1970. I think we've beaten the odds quite well with what he calls cultural forces, because we're able to multiply our power, and that's important. But that requires identifying the challenges and the opportunities, but identify the challenges first, because otherwise you'll be washed away. And I have no problem with that. I think that is the dynamic of life, of competition, of struggle, of achievement, of alliances. That's how you make alliances. People make alliances with the strong. They seldom make alliances with the weak. And they certainly don't make peace with the weak. You make peace with the strong. And I think Israel is growing stronger by the day in order to meet these dangers.
Paralleled service, defending, transforming, and strengthening Israel. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Very good. Thank you.
We thank you for all you do and continue.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would please take your seats.